So good morning, everyone. Again, it is lovely and nice to again connect. So beautiful good morning, and yes, again we will start as usual with trying to generate good intention, motivations before we start the class. So again, try to make yourself comfortable, relax as much as possible. And try to calm your mind by watching the breath mindfully for a few moments. Then we can try to reflect, contemplate. It is not so easy to help and benefit other sentient beings. Even sometimes when we have the right intention to want to help and be benefit. Even for very few people or in our own family, not easy. Why? Because we ourselves is unenlightened at the moment. Because we don't have the highest level of love, compassion, bodhicitta, and wisdom. And a skillful means to help and benefit. Therefore, in order to be more benefit and help to other sentient beings as well as to ourselves, we need to become more enlightened. With more love, compassion, bodhicitta, wisdom, thereby become more wise. And in order to develop such skills and qualities, we need to practice through study, reflection, contemplation, meditations. With that hope, that is why we have gathered here, for that purpose. May us coming here together with good intentions and giving precious time, maybe it become cause and conditions to obtain fully enlightened or fully awakened state. so we can be greatest help and benefit to all sentient beings, including oneself. Okay. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam La Chanchu Pada Daneka Sage Shege Be Sonam Ge Dola Penje Sangye Duba Sangye Chodan Soge Sonam La Chanchu Pada Daneka Sage Shege Be Sonam Ge Dola Penje Sangye Duba. So for this series of the talk discussion that we have been discussing, we discussed that fully awakened state or enlightenment is possible because we all have Buddha nature. Also, we have gathered most of the major and most of the conducive condition to practice the path to attain that fully awakened state, and that we are free from all the major obstacles to practice the Dharma, to practice the path. So because we have this precious human rebirth, and not only that, externally also we have met qualified gurus, spiritual teachers. So the condition, external condition, internal condition, they have all come together. So if we really put effort and practice, then enlightenment, fully awakened state is not something impossible. It is possible. It is within the reach. Even though sometimes we might feel almost impossible. But, from the cause and condition and from every point of view, then it is possible because we have all the conditions have come together in this time. And the reason why we have not been able to actualize the enlightened state or fully awakened state in the past is, because, either we are too attached to this present life and experience of that, or sometimes we are too attached to the samsara and the pleasure of samsara in general, or due to having too much selfish attitude or self-centeredness that we are unable to develop higher level of love, compassion, bodhicitta mind. Or due to, self-grasping ignorance, strong self-grasping ignorance, not being able to develop the wisdom, realizing the ultimate truth. And because of that, that is why we have not been able to achieve the fully enlightened or fully awakened state in the past. But if we put effort to cultivate those inner qualities or inner virtues or realizations, then definitely we can get closer and closer and eventually achieve fully enlightened. And for that, in order to cultivate those inner qualities, then Buddha gave, some practice instructions, the practice instructions to overcome those inner obstacles afflictive emotion obscurations, just to describe, that are the obstacle to achieve enlightenment, And so, in lamrim terms, from the lamrim term, we talk about, the practice of small scope, practice of middle scope, practice of great scope, but I think if we kind of make it more simplified, the practice to overcome the too much strong desire or attachment to this life and experience of this life, the practice to overcome too much strong desire for samsara in general and the experience of samsara, and the practice to overcome the selfish attitude so that we can develop true love, compassion, bodhicitta mind, and the practice to cultivate to overcome the ignorance, fundamental ignorance, so that we can develop the wisdom, and through all of that, then we can achieve the enlightenment. And so I think those are the different practices and instructions that has been taught by the Buddhas. And I think we will go through each of them slowly, one by one. And in the last verses, from the Lama Chopa, that went through the precious human rebirth, that part, and also in that it explained, in that one verses, it explained, how this life is precious and how rare it is to obtain again, and how it easily get lost, meaning that this life does not, as much as this life has so much potentials and is so precious because of all these potentials, but at the same time, it does not last forever. It does not last forever. It is temporary. It is temporary, so therefore, we have to make most of it while the opportunity is in our hand, before we lose that opportunity, before we lose that great opportunity. And so the instructions that is taught, is impermanent, the teaching on impermanent, the practice on impermanent. And again, this is one of the main teaching of the Buddha, he gave that first teaching after his enlightenment is on impermanent. The last teaching he gave before he passed away is impermanent. And, in the middle, while he was teaching for 45 years, from his enlightenment until his passing away, he had given so many teachings on many different subjects, but definitely on impermanent many, many times. And is one of the crucial subjects to have understanding, not only theoretically and intellectually, but to have that understanding experientially. I think theoretically, intellectually, I think most of us have some understanding of that impermanent. Most of us have some understanding of impermanent, theoretically, intellectually, but we don't have that experiential understanding at the moment. We haven't put that theoretical and intellectual understanding into the practice to make it experiential understanding. And until we have that experiential understanding, then it is hard to have the transformative that we should have, and that require, continuous meditation practice. It's not enough just to have intellectual understanding. It is good. It is the first step. First step is to have theoretical and intellectual understanding, but we have to learn to go beyond that and to have an experiential understanding. So in terms of impermanent, temporary, impermanent, temporary, that does not last for long, forever, Of course, we talk about gross impermanent, subtle impermanent. So Buddha taught about gross impermanent and subtle impermanent. I think most of us have understanding of gross impermanent. But for some of us, even intellectually having a subtle understanding of subtle impermanence might not be so easy. Even just theoretically, intellectually understanding the subtle level of the impermanent. And so when Buddha described about the gross and subtle impermanent nature of conditioned phenomena, there is external conditions, or there are external phenomena and internal phenomena, such as the being, the persons, the beings. External phenomena, I think, conditioned phenomena, the nature of gross impermanent, I think, is easy if we observe things around us. We just have to open our mind, eyes of the mind. If we look everything's around us with the open-minded, then impermanent is always there all the time. It's in front of us. Even you don't want to see, it's in front of us all the time. We see, every day we see sun arising and sunset. Come from one mountains, or of course, if there is mountain, okay, some places you can't see mountains. So, but come from one area, one places, and it keep on moving, from morning, not too hot, and then becoming hotter and hotter, and then, as sunset down, again, become sunset and more cooler at night, and we experience that every day is ever changing. It's not same. Every day that we see that. If we look around the plants that are surrounding us, four weathers. Of course, some countries, some places, there's no four weather. Maybe there's two weathers, but many places there's four weathers, and again, we can see the change very clearly, Now it's starting to become a fall here. You can see the leaves are starting to change the colors. Some of them started to fall down. And then winter will arise. All those kind of trees that fall down their leaves, they will all fall down without any leaves. Probably there's some wind, snow, we hope and pray for have more snow, at least here, I know in some places they don't want snow, but some area, but here definitely we want and we pray for the more snow, so, but basically there is the winter, and then winter pass, and then again there is spring when the plants started to again grow. So we can see the changes, 4 seasons, all the times, every year with that never stay same, impermanent nature. And see, we go to the forest, sometimes some trees are dying, some new trees are being born, all the time changing, And I'm looking at this computer, it's starting to get older. It wasn't same. Now I feel like maybe I need to get the newest one, the most expensive one. And the one that no one has. Only one, handmade, especially for me. So you see, then you see the cup, the cup is wearing out. The couch is wearing out slowly. Everything you see around you see is ever changing. That is impermanent, ever changing. is happening. And then we look at our own body, it's only changing. You know? If I look at myself, you know, I'm losing more and more hair, and whatever hair I'm having becoming more and more white, you know. And some days I eat too much. I see my body getting bigger. Sometimes maybe I eat a little bit less and do some exercise. I can see my body become a little bit kind of thin. There is changes all the time in the body. There is change in your mind all the time, emotions. One moment you are okay, one moment you are not okay, one moment you are excited, one moment you feel low. External, internal, ourself, our own physical body, our own emotion, our own mind, constantly changing, never staying same for long. That is impermanent nature. And that is not something Buddha made up. That is the how nature of the things are. Buddha just is kind of trying to help us. That is the nature of those things, and helping us to realize that reality. Because we get, you know, due to our ignorance, we don't realize that that nature, and there we seems to grasp as a permanent, and because of grasping on that permanent, then we tend to have a lot of negative emotions arises because on the basis of that. And due to those negative emotions, then we experience pain, and we create more pain to others. Then we suffer, others suffers, everyone suffers. And so because Buddha want to teach us that we don't have to suffer. You don't have to suffer, and you don't have to create more suffering to others if we realize the reality of impermanent nature. No. So, and subtle impermanent is that even sometimes we cannot see with our naked eye, but all the things, condition phenomena that are ever changing, are changing moment by moment, momentarily, which is not so obvious to our eyes. I can't see this computer changing moment by moment. I can see it change after a few months, few years. When I go into the forest, I can see the change of the color, but I can't see it's momentarily changing. I can only see after a few weeks, few months. Then I see the changes. But my eye cannot see it momentarily, but what is happening is changing momentarily on subtle level, which is not obvious to our senses, such as eyes. And when that momentary change happen, you know, momentarily, day, week, month, then it becomes more obvious to our mind. More obvious to our eye conscious. And that is when we are able to see it. So it's ever changing momentarily, second by second, you know, and that continues, you know, that moment by moment continuously started to change, and for hours, days, weeks, and then it become more and more growth, and it become more and more obvious to us the change. And that is when we see we are able to see the change with our naked eyes. But actually, the change has happened much earlier, moment by moment. The change didn't happen suddenly, you know. Suddenly, it doesn't happen, you know. And sometimes, you know, when they have someone, you know, sometimes you see in some of a planet world, you know, when they have the camera to a plant, and when they started to grow small, and then they just open, you know, you see moment by moment changes. Normally we cannot observe, we don't have time to observe that. And also maybe our eye is not so good as the camera is. But when you see in the camera, you can see day by day, the changes slowly happening. And not by day to day, if you have better technology, maybe you probably might be able to see by eye, hour by hour. And then when you have even better technology, you might be able to see minute by minutes, you know. But that is the reality. So therefore, from Buddhist point, not Buddhist point of view, you know, the reality of the conditioned phenomena are impermanent, ever changing momentarily. That is the nature of that. It is the nature of external, all the conditioned external phenomena. It is the nature of internal conditioned phenomena, such as our own aggregates and ourselves, our minds. And within that growth, maybe, maybe. And then when we have a experiential realization of that impermanent nature, that is ever changing, not only ever changing momentarily, then we will have less grasping and attachment to the object that we are so strongly attached at the moment. At the moment, we can't see that changes, so it feels like so solid there. So solid, unchanging. And when we see that way, our mind tend to cling and grasp more strongly and have a more strong attachment. But if you see with your experience, it is ever fleeting, you know, there is nothing that you can hold on, because the moment you try to hold on, that is gone. It's something else. It's ever moving, ever changing. So then, you know, our mind grasping and clinging and attachment become less intense, you know, and it becomes less. So that is how, when we have realization of impermanent, how it can affect our, how it can reduce our attachment to any objects. And same thing, you know, it can reduce our anger or dislike or aversions towards any objects. Because again, when we feel the object is more unchanging, permanent, we have more stronger disliking, more stronger aversions, more stronger anger. But when we see that object is ever changing, even never same, it's like the flow of the water. Is ever changing, is never same, you know, it's fleeting moment by moment. Then, you know, again, we have less stronger disliking, less stronger aversions and anger. So it really can help us to reduce attachment, anger, ignorance, you know, the ignorance of grasping those objects to be permanent. You know, once you have understanding of that nature of impermanent, then you have less ignorance of grasping impermanent object to be a permanent, you know. So when you have that, then you can see how it can reduce our negative emotions, you know, how it can reduce our negative emotions. So coming to, you know, particularly the main subjects here is, you know, among that growth within the phenomena, ever-changing, impermanent phenomena, you know, our life is one of them. Our life is one of them. Our life is, impermanent. That does not last forever. It comes to the end. As Buddha said, everything that is being born will have to face end, death. Anything that come together, that we meet, we will be separated. Everything that is collected, it will disperse. So that is it's not based on any belief, but it's the reality, the scientific reality. That is what those conditioned phenomena are. So definitely, our life also is impermanent, and so it comes to an end. And we have to realize that sometime, maybe, deep behind, maybe we might be aware that, there will come time then when we will not be anymore here. But it's very, very, it's not so in the front of his mind, in our mind all the time. It's kind of somewhere down in the deep there. So through the practice and meditation on that impermanent, the idea is to bring that understanding on the surface, and you try to feel that all the time through practice meditations. So being aware that, every day, today might be my last day in this world. Next week might be my last day in this world. Next month might be my last day in this world. Next year might be my last day in this, or you can go other way around, I think when you really meditate, then it will be better to go the other way around, This could be my last decade. This, among those decades, this could be my last year. Within that last year, this could be my last month. Within the month, this could be my last week. Within the 1 week, this could be my last day. Within the day, this could be my last hour. Within the hour, this could be my last second. So, through that kind of practice meditation, then we are being aware, that our life can come to end anytime, any moment. Again, it's not kind of we are just making out, fabricating it. That is a reality. It could come any moment. Any moment. It could come any moment, anytime. We see people around us unexpectedly gone. Last year, we never thought they will be gone by this year. Many of them, last month, we never thought they will be gone. Last week, many of them, we never thought they will be gone. Some of them you met just yesterday, you never thought they will be gone. They will not be here today, and they are not here today. And we know someone whom we know directly, our families, friends, or sometimes our friends, family of other friends that we have observed throughout our life. So many times we have seen so much, and especially now, with the pandemic, we hear that every day in the news, so many things. And the family never thought, they will be gone suddenly like that. They themselves never thought they will be gone like that suddenly. And it's not only them. We are not different from them. Our life is not different from them. And so also our life can come to end, disrupt, suddenly, quickly, anytime. So if we are aware of that in our everyday, if we are aware that our life can come to end anytime, any moment, if we are aware of that all the time, we will be prepared, more prepared when it does come. Because it's going to come in one day. It's only a matter of when and how and where. But it is going to come. We cannot pretend that it's not going to come, and we cannot kind of, trying to delude ourselves that it's not going to come. Somehow we can outlive the death. Nobody has been able to do in the past. Some of the greatest scientists, some of the greatest doctors, some of the most enlightened beings. So we can't expect to, outdo the dead. It's better if we accept that it's going to come, and it will come any moment. If we have that awareness, it will really help us to prepare ourselves. And if it doesn't come, even though I'm prepared to, even because of being aware that it can come anytime, so you are more prepared. And if you are more prepared, it comes tomorrow, you are more prepared. You have less fear, less worry, less regret, because you are more prepared. And it doesn't come tomorrow, you have one more day, it's great. It's bonus. One more week to live, even better, even greater bonus. 1 month, 1 year, every of that moment is something you cherish, because it is like giving a new extra life to you. You feel that, you have been given new extra life, because I could have gone today, but I got one more day. That is wonderful. I got one more week. I got one more month. So, there is more joy in your life instead of being so complaining and how life is so and so and becoming so miserable. So it is, that is why. And of course, we will be more prepared for the death. We will be prepared for the futures. So we have less worry about what might happen in the futures, because you are more prepared. You have more confidence about the futures, and you are more confident about the futures because you have prepared better. And we have been able to prepare better because we were, aware that it could come any moment. So you have started to prepare mentally, emotionally, through practice. So when you are more prepared, then you have no fear and scare of death. It is we are becoming more fear of death when we are unprepared. We have more fear when we are unprepared. That is the same with everything. Not only with the Dharma, but in everything in our life. Things that we have prepared more, we have less fear about that. But things that we are unprepared, there's more fear about that. And definitely, when it comes to our spiritual practice, definitely, So therefore, thinking, meditating on death impermanence is so powerful and so beneficial and so helpful, Sometimes people think, meditating on death seems very, kind of depressing. Do you get it? It might feel like people think that it is very depressing, that even when you are not there, you are still thinking about your death or meditating on death. But that is not our experience of people. The experience of meditators who have been meditating on death every day, they are more fearless. They are less fearful, they are more fearless. And it is not depressing They are more joyful, cheerful about life, everything. Look at His Holiness Dalai Lama, one example, public figure. He says he meditated on death every day 6 times. Does he look depressing? Does he look depressing because he has been meditating on death 6 times a day? No, he's one of the most cheerful, joyful, even all the challenges that he went through, still he's one of the most happiest, joyful, happy persons. So this idea that if you meditate on that impermanent, that your life will be not fun, your life will be miserable, your life will be depressing, is totally misunderstanding. As I already mentioned before, if I'm aware that today might be my last day, if I have that strong awareness, tomorrow I wake up, I will be so happy, delighted. I wake up today. I thought I will not wake up today, and now I wake up today. What a gift. There's more joyfulness in that, instead of the other way around. So because I feel there are a lot of misunderstanding, and that is how some people feel that way, So of course, there are many different meditations and practice on death impermanent. Again, we don't have time to go so detailed in these Sunday classes, but definitely those who are interested, there is a very detailed those practice in the lamrim, all of the lamrim, whether you read Pabonga's Liberation in Your Palm, whether you read Lama Tsongkhapa, great and middle lamrims, and many others lamrim as well, then of course, like in FMD has this program, of course, basic program lamrim as well, but also shorter program, Discovering Buddhism, has also subject on death impermanent, and that could be 4 to 6 sessions. So again, we do offer those program here, and those who are interested to learn more details, then definitely you should do that, but yeah. So there are many different meditations on death impermanent as to prepare for our death. We call there is a one meditation or 8 dissolutions. So get familiar with what are the signs, external signs and internal sign. As we, when the death comes, there are certain external signs and internal signs that go through different 8 signs. And so if you are through practice meditation, if you are familiar with that, then when it comes, then we will be aware of that, or I'm in this state, and now next it will be in this stage. And then, so you are more kind of knowing where you are and where you are going. So instead of being panicking that you have all these different visions and you don't know what is happening, and then that kind of different visions make you fearful because you are lost, you don't know what is happening. But when you have that, then definitely it makes you more ease, because it's like you have learned all the roads. Next one is that town with that. So then where you are going, you are not lost. You are on the right track. Similarly, you feel that at the time of that. And then also through that, and when it comes to the clear light mind, the last stages of that, then, if we are able to utilize that clear light mind for meditation, then it becomes extremely powerful to meditate with that mind, because it is without any distractions, without any concept, without any thoughts. So when you can utilize that, it becomes extremely powerful. And so some of the meditators try to train themselves to utilize that when that is presented to them at the time of death. So there are 8 dissolution meditations. There are death impermanent meditation on what we know known as 9 reasonings, 3 root 9 reasonings, and 3 conclusions. There is some meditation that on death impermanent, and then there is meditation, kind of imagining yourself at your bed in your last day or week of your life, and then you are on the bed, then imagine that and what could happen, surrounded by family, friends. That would be great. Sometimes we wouldn't be able to have the opportunity to do that, being surrounded by our loved one. Sometimes maybe we might be just, passing ourselves alone. But in the best scenario, that we are surrounded by families, friends, and then, what kind of things that is happening, that could happen in our mind, what kind of emotion, what kind of thought that could arise in ourselves, what kind of feelings, emotions that might be going through our families and friends that is seeing us dying, surrounded us. And so, so if we are aware of all of that, even though it's not happening, but we imagine that to happening, and so we get familiar with that. And with that meditation practice, we get familiar, and then when we actually in that real happening, then again we are already kind of prepared how to respond positively in a healthy way, because we have learned, what if that happens, how to respond to that. So through meditation, we have learned there are all those possibilities, different emotion to arises in ourselves, different emotion that could arises in the other surrounding our friends, families. And then when those happen, how can we deal with that, with those different state of mind, whether it's a fear, whether it's a feeling of guilt, whether it's a feeling of regret, whether it's a feeling of anger, whether it's a feeling of sadness, whether it's a feeling of, whatever those, so many different emotions that could arise within us or within the people surrounding us. And when that happens, how can we respond to our own those different negative emotions? How can we respond to others who are going through that, so that we can help them to be more calm, more peace, and we ourselves become more peace and calm? If we are not prepared now, when things really happen, then we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to handle ourselves. We don't know how to help others to handle that. But now we do those meditations, and because of that, then you have different emotions, and then you practice how to kind of overcome those different emotions. And then when actually at the time of the bed, when it happens, then you have the skills, you have the tools to deal with them, and with yourself, and our dear one, near one that is trying to help surrounding us, so mm, and also there are many meditations, of course, I think nowadays maybe it's slightly different, than in the old time, Buddha's time, when you just take to cemeteries, and but again, I think it is also same even now, even though maybe what we do is very more, better. We are good at covering up things a lot of time nowadays, make it more beautiful, instead of trying to really see the true what it really is. But in the old times, they don't do that, you just. And so in terms of that, then there are meditation, how once you are taking the cemetery, imagining and visualizing and thinking about how you look the body of the first week, second week, third week, fourth week, and how your body is being kind of slowly eaten by the insects and other things. By doing that, then again, it helps us to have less attachment to this body, because in the end, that is what is going to end up. So there's no reason to hold so strong attachment to that when in the end, that is how we end up. So there are so many different practice meditations in relation to that impermanent. Okay. And again, without going any details, first of all, the meditation is that we are going to die. And it is not to make us fearful of the death. It's not to create a fear, but actually it is to help us to realize the reality that death is going to come. It's just being more aware of that. Instead of trying to run away from the reality, facing the reality. Because you can run away from the reality for short term, but you cannot run away long term completely. I can try to run away from this reality of death by not thinking now, and for a week, for months, for a year, but at the end, I cannot. I will face that one day. I cannot run away forever. So instead, it's much more better to face it now and learn to develop the tools and skills to deal with that. And so that when it comes, we have less fear, more prepare, and more tools to deal with that. The more we are aware earlier, the more we develop more tools to deal with that. We develop more tools, learn more things, how to deal with that method. And so when it actually happens, then definitely we will have much more tools. And so when you have all of these tools, then you have less anxiety, less worry, less fear, And so meditating that we are, going to die, definitely. That is something that we cannot run away, something we cannot escape. By the way, that reminds me of one of the stories, there is I heard stories about, in Tibetan Lhasa, capital of the Tibet. One monk who was coming from another monastery, and so he asked for a day because he came to the city to do something, and he asked a family to give him a place to stay. The families gave him, because that is how it does in a lot of the monks when they need to go and spend, and they ask for families, some even they don't know, and most time they will offer space for a couple of nights, and all of that. So it happened one, and that monk was kind of, a little bit kind of debater, who liked to debate all the time, who cannot shut down his mouth, who liked to debate, with everything, And it says some of the families in Lhasa, they don't want to host those monks who are always debating, anything they say, they debate, so they are fed of it, sometimes. So, but of course he gave this one, he didn't know that he was one of those monks, Anyway, so the monk was staying there. And then, the mom told his daughter, oh, there is a lice on her hair, lice, lice or lice? Lice or lice? Lice, okay. Lice, and then told the daughter to take it somewhere it doesn't die, okay? Put in a safe place. Take it somewhere, put in a safe place where it doesn't die. And the monk heard that. He couldn't stop. He said, if there is a place where where it doesn't die, I also want to go there. If there's a safe place where you don't have to die, please let me know. I also want to go that place. And the mom was, knew immediately this is one of those monks, who like to kind of debate, So that was where it just kind of remind me of that story, So basically, there is no place where you can be safe and not to face the death forever. And so, no matter, as I mentioned, the death doesn't differentiate rich and poor, doesn't differentiate what your colors, differentiate your gender, doesn't differentiate your political belief, doesn't differentiate your spiritual belief, doesn't differentiate whether you are, educated, uneducated, we all have to face it. We all have to face it. Since we have to face it someday, why not make peace with it and not be so fearful of it by knowing it's just a natural process. It's just a natural process. Just like we are okay with the change of the weather, just as we are okay with the change of the season, just as we are okay with the change of the plant, knowing that is the way things are. Also, we learn to accept and be okay and fine with that. It's just another same kind of natural process. Comes, goes. Our life comes to end and another life continues. Another form of life arises. Just like the plant die during this winter and next spring, it will come again. Same way, So if we understand that, then also we don't have to be so fearful of losing our dear one near, because it is not losing forever. We are being separated for a short term. We will be meeting them again in the future. If it's being permanently being kind of separated, then I think it can be a little bit more kind of more side, more side. You never meet them again. But again, from Buddhist point of view, again, we continue to take life and we will continue to meet them again and again in the futures. So, we don't have to be so extremely fearful about death and thinking about death, meditating on death. So by thinking that death is certain, death is something definite, that no one can escape, no one can run away from that. With that understanding, then it should come to conclusions that I have to prepare more for the death. And preparing for the death means practicing the Dharma. That's the best way to prepare for the death. That is the best way to prepare for being while we're alive as well as facing the death, is practice the Dharma. Because that is the thing that can help us at the time of death and after the death. If we really practice the Dharma well, it will help us while we're alive, how many ever we live, how many ever we live, whether we have short life, whether we have long life, doesn't matter. But if we have practiced the Dharma, that will help us in our life, to deal with all the up and down and difficulties with much more easiness emotionally because of our practice. When we practice the Dharma, we are learning all these different tools, method, how to, manage our emotions when our life is up, when our life is down, when the things are easy, when the things are difficult. So we learn all these tools through the Dharma practice. So definitely, when you have those tools, definitely, whether we live short, long, it will be great benefit. At the time of death, when we are facing the reality that death, also it will be extremely helpful, extremely beneficial. And after the death, it will be also extremely beneficial, helpful. So, through that meditation on that, there is definitely certain, then we try to develop sense of urgency and the need to practice the Dharma. The need to practice the Dharma. And again, as I mentioned at the very beginning, we somehow know that we are going to die. We have to face that reality. But one of the things that discourages us from practicing the Dharma immediately, and the feeling of urgency, is that we feel, yes, I'm going to die, but not now. Not for the last 5, 10 years, 15 years. Not for, let's say in my cases, supposedly I have 80 years, okay? Not for next 25 years. Maybe after 25 years, maybe yes, but not for now. That's how we feel it. If you are already in 80s, you feel, well, I could live up to 90, I still have 10 years. If you are in 90, you still feel maybe I have 2 more years, 1 more year, 3 more years. And even in 100, sometimes still you feel you have 1 more years, 2 more years, Always feeling sense of not now. It's going to happen, but not now. That's how we feel. It's going to happen, but it's not going to happen now. And why do we feel that way? Why do we feel that it's not going to now? Because we feel maybe I'm healthy. I'm not so. My age is on my side. Healthy is my side. External condition. I don't live in such a dangerous place. I live in pretty much quite safe place. Those are some of the reasons we come up. Why not now? But those reasoning can be very deceptive. Those reasoning can be very deceptive. And because if we look around us, how many healthy people are dying before unhealthy people? We see around here, some people who have been not so healthy and having some chronic disease or some others, and still who have pretty much quite long life. And then some of the healthy people, suddenly they are gone. Suddenly gone due to some things. Sometimes accident, sometimes they have heart attack, sometimes, they fall down or some other form of attack. Sometimes they have been attacked suddenly by the virus, like in this case. How many we see in the news? Even the healthy young people dying because of this virus, COVID. So healthy, even you are young, you could still die. Young dying much more earlier than elder one, and especially is more effective and helpful for us if we try to take those examples closer to ourselves, within our family, within our friend. Sometimes we know very closely. Then it becomes more personal, and when it becomes more personal, then the practice meditation becomes more stronger. Then because you feel real, not just something happening there, but it happens so close to you, then it could happen to me. Then it becomes so much more personal and much more powerful in that way. So we can think about, within our family, within our friend, some of those who have lost their life at a young age, some of them who have lost their life when they're very healthy, some of them who lost their life even though they live in a very, peaceful environment and so forth, So through that kind of meditations, practice, then it helped us to be aware and have, not only I'm going to die, but I could die anytime, any moment, that I mentioned at the very beginning. That I could die. I could easily die in this year, this month, this week, or within this 24 hours. I could. There's no guarantee that I will not, there's no guarantee I will be here by tomorrow, next week, next month. So when you feel that, not only that, that is something certain, definite, and is going to come, but it could come anytime, any moment. Then not only we need to practice Dharma, then the conclusion is that not only we need to practice Dharma now, without postponing it. Because a lot of the time, I think most of us who have been studying and practicing Dharma, somehow we want to practice Dharma. We want to dedicate our life for more Dharma. But we always kind of push it back, Always, we cannot, a lot of time we struggle to find the time to do practice now. We always, I want to dedicate my life to practice, but I will do when I'm retired, after I retire, or after I finish this and that. And, that never comes. You finish one and then another project comes. You finish that project, another project comes. You think you are going to do after your retirement, you become more busy than before. Taking after the children, looking after grandchildren, and, doing here, this and that, and, I never had time to travel, I never had time to do this, and you started to travel, you started to do all these things and then again, where's the time to practice the Dharma? Oh, you want to learn this, you want to learn that, different things. And how much time do we have, even after your retirement? How much time do you find for really practice? And that keep on going until our last moment. So because of not being aware that it could come any moment, we keep on pushing it, even though we feel Dharma is important. Even though we feel we want to practice the Dharma, even though we feel that we want to dedicate more for the Dharma, but we keep on pushing it, postponing it, due to the lack of not having that understanding or awareness that that could come any moment. But if we have that awareness, then, if we know that it could come next year, then we have only 1 year, so we'll prepare more for that 1 year. Probably we might be able to prepare more that 1 year than that we have prepared for 30 years before. I just give you one example. One of my friends shared a story. He's a monk, Geshe, and there was one meditator, monk in Dharamsala, and he was quite young, he was young, and then he had some problems, so he went to see the doctor, then he was diagnosed with the cancer, so the doctor was reluctant to tell him that he had cancer, Doctor was not sure how to explain it, couldn't say directly that he had cancer, he was trying to say around, and the monk kind of knew that, he got a little bit suspicious, and he told him, you really let me know, tell me the truth, whatever, if that, because it helped me to prepare myself. It helped me to prepare myself. You have to tell me the truth. So the doctor told him he has cancer, and then they discuss about the treatments, then I don't know what stages that he was. I think it seems like he was in last stages. It seems like the doctor told him, he can do some treatment, chemo and that, but if it goes successful, he could live 2-3 more years. If it's not successful, then the success rate is not so high, but there is some chances. So the monk had to make decisions, So he decided to kind of accept it without any treatments, because anyway, even he is going to have a successful treatment, he was going to have only 1 or 2 more years, according to what doctor says, So he decided, accept it. And when my friend asked him whether he was fearful, and he said, definitely when he first heard it, there was little fear. His mind was a little disturbed. But after he digesting that, the first moment of that information, digesting that, and then accepting that through what you have taught, what you have learning, and what you have been meditating, being able to accept that, then it makes him more calm, peaceful, and to be able to accept. And then, after 3 months of that, after he was diagnosed, he passed away. But before he passed away, again, some of his other friends asked him, how his practice is going and all of that. And his experience of that monk, he said, these 3 months have been the most powerful practice that I've ever done in my life. Those 3 months that I've been doing practice has been the most powerful practice that I've ever done in my life before. Why? Because he knew the death was there, coming very soon. So the practice become much more stronger, more powerful. And there was no kind of, postponing that way, and so that is the experience of him, and that is the experience of a lot of people. So that is why that meditations. So once you meditate on that could come anytime, any moment, and being aware of that, then with that awareness, it gives us, especially those who have background of Dharma, to practice Dharma without postponing immediately, and to practice more purely, more sincerely, not half-heartedness. Do you get it? At the moment, our practice is half-heartedness. Not even half, sometimes, 1/4. Not even 1/4, sometimes, we are just doing, our mind is some everywhere, and then we just kind of, it's better than nothing, but still is not sincerely, and it's not so powerful. But when we know that it's coming soon, anytime, then your practice becomes more sincerely, more pure, and more powerful. So that is through that meditation, then we come to conclude, I have to practice now without postponing, putting it again and again. And then, meditating, at the time of death, what really helped us, and beyond the death, no matter how much reputation, good reputation, fame we have, it doesn't help at the time of death, neither it help after the death. No matter how much rich, no matter how much wealth we have, how much rich we are, it cannot help at the time of death, neither it can help after the death. We leave everything behind, No matter how much friends, family we have, how big family, how many friends we have, at the time of death, doesn't help, they are unable to help. Even they want to help, they can't help us from dying. they can't help, neither they can help after that, And even our body with whom we have been together all our life, even that at that time it started to collapse, it cannot help us to keep alive, and neither it will be able to help after the death. But all the negative karma that we have created while we were alive in relation to all of that, in relation to fame, in relation to the wealth, in relation to, what all kind of relationship, in relation to being attached to our bodies all the times, and all the negative karma that we have been creating is something that we take, and all others we leave behind. Of course, not only negative karma, of course, if we have practiced more, if we have practiced virtues more, of course, we can take the virtues, we can take the positive karma, the virtues, and that can be very helpful at the time of death and after the death, So that is what really helped us. And so therefore coming to some understanding conclusions, what we really need to focus is to work our own mind, practicing the Dharma. Practicing Dharma means working with our mind, That is all about practicing the Dharma, means working with our mind. Working with our mind means, reducing and overcoming all the harmful, negative emotions, feelings, thoughts, and trying to cultivate and fully develop those virtues and positive state of minds that can be helpful to us and others, that can be a cause of benefit to others and oneself. So that is the essence of Dharma, is that. The essence of Dharma, the very essence of Dharma is working with our mind. Just that's it. Working with our mind. How can we reduce those negative, harmful emotions, feelings, thoughts? How can we cultivate and fully develop those helpful and positive thoughts, positive feelings, positive minds? It's all Dharma practice means all about that. Working with your mind, your emotions, your thoughts. So I think I will kind of so maybe I can open. I don't know, maybe there might be some questions. I see something on chat. I don't know. Okay. The pandemic really helped me to pace, even though dead by learning meditation poor, I also learned. Yeah, so thank you again. I think as you all can see, the chat was shared in everyone, so you can read it. And I think, again, it's wonderful that, she has been able to utilize this for her practice, to enhance your practice. And that should be what that should be the case, when we see the death of others, whether it's our own family, friends, or not related personally, but another sentient beings. When we see the death of that, then that should inspire us, that should enhance us in our practice even further than before, by knowing that we are no different from them, and by knowing that, their situation, their nature and our nature is similar. And so through that, then to enhance your practice, I think is wonderful. And I think, thank you for sharing. I think definitely it can inspire some people, by sharing your own experience, how that has enhanced your practice in so many ways. Yeah. Here another, Geshe-la, when a loved one dies, we will meet them again, but we won't recognize them due to our obscuration, right? Yes, some of them, we might not be able to recognize some of them. We might be able to recognize, you never know. Some people can remember their past friends, families, and so forth. But not everyone can remember that, definitely. Then some of people, they don't remember, but they feel it. They feel like they have met before. They feel like they know that person before, even though they don't know how they are related directly, but there is some kind of feeling. And even though you don't really recognize, but you feel like you recognize them, even though you don't really know that, you feel like you know them. And that is another, even though you don't know the details, but there is some, still you can understand that we have some connections in the past. So some people have that, but again, not necessarily everyone has that. But it doesn't matter whether I recognize someone or not, as long as I continue to meet, I continue to work with them, whether I recognize them. For example, someone who might have been very helpful and kind to me in when I was young, and maybe due to something, maybe I might not recognize them because they were kind when I was 2 years, 1 year, 3 years. They took care of me, but I don't remember them clearly. But even I don't remember them, but I can still feel, even though I don't remember the person's face, and even though I don't remember details of that, but I appreciate that someone took care of me, helped me when I was young. And there is sense of graduate, there's sense of appreciation, there's sense of feeling of closeness in that way, even though you don't recognize directly, but still there is that feeling of feeling close and dear and that, so. But maybe this help us develop deeper sense of equanimity as in all being precious. Definitely, yeah. So anyone has any questions, comments, please feel without any hesitations, either by unmuting yourself or writing chat. Does anyone? Yes, Ethan, I can see you. Can you unmute?
Thank you so much for these powerful moments that I experienced through you. I was wondering, is my attachment to happiness itself a problem? I imagine happiness to be something waiting for me under a tree or on a rock somewhere, and that I'm going to get there and find it and be happy all the time. Is that actually a problem to have that attachment, or do you feel that it's achievable?
I think you just express my feelings. I like nature, being in the mountains, wild animals. So, I find some kind of peace and joy in that. So similar to what you cautioned, so that clearly shows I have some attachment, no doubt, on that level, Of course, someone you can like something, but you don't have to have attachment. That is one thing, One can like something, someone can enjoy something, but it doesn't have to be attachment. Absolutely, there is possible, Buddha enjoy, or Arha, they enjoy everything they see, everything they observe, everything they like it, they enjoy it, but they don't have that clinging and grasping, that strong clinging and grasping, not wanting to let it go, and that is the way, holding very tightly, and that is where it leads to disappointment, because no matter how you try to hold it very tightly, you are going to lose one day, because it's impermanent, it's going to change, it's going to decay, disintegrate. So you are not going to have that all the time. So, but trying not to lose it, trying to hold it can lead to a disappointment and that. So definitely that is the one of the functioning of the attachment, of such a, it's a kind of like sticky, sticky things that you can't, is so attachments like that. But without that stickiness, without that grasping so tightly and like that, then you can, whatever you experience, you enjoy it. And so I don't think, and if you don't have, you don't complain, you don't become. When you have it, you enjoy it. When you don't have it, you don't miss it, or you don't feel miserable because I can't have any more of that, and I want to. When you don't have that, then that's fine, When you have attachment, that is what will happen. When I can't have that, I started to miss it. So then my life become more miserable because I cannot have what I want because I'm missing it. And that's the attachment, because you want to have, you hold so tightly. But someone who just, enjoy whatever they have, whatever come in their life, but there's no holding, and then when it's gone, you don't miss it. You don't feel like miserable. Your life is miserable because you cannot have that at the moment. So I think enjoying whatever, whether it's a food, whether it's a weather, whether it's a companion, whether it is a nature, whether it's any kind of entertainment, whatever, as long as you don't have attachments. Or that remind me one cartoon that I saw, I don't know, I don't remember who drew the cartoon. There is a Zen master, master meditating, and then there was a pupil, young disciple who meditating, and young monk asking the teacher, can I have an iPad or iPhone? And the teacher saying, you can have as long as you don't have attachment. So, but basically that is it, the object itself is not the problem. It's the attachments that is the problem. Enjoying is not the problem. Enjoying with attachment is the problem. The point is to be able to enjoy everything without attachment. The point is to enjoy, even to enjoy whether it's raining, whether it's snowing, whether it's the sun shining, anything, what, no matter what weather it is, but just learning to enjoy that. And so as long as we don't have attachment, then we can enjoy more of everything, and that itself is not a problem. Yeah. Let me see. I think there seems to be a few questions. Do you think you might consider working or extending sessions specifically on death and impermanence? Yeah, I guess I could think about it. Definitely. The session will be extended more and more, but definitely that can be one thing to consider, definitely. Then there is one, I'm not sure if this is an appropriate question for people who haven't received tantric initiation. I have a friend who is Buddhist and want to know if it is okay to practice the dissolution process, smoke mirage, etc. If you haven't had tantric initiation, specifically High Yoga Tantra, also I came late to class. I think it is okay to meditate on dissolutions, even though the source of the teachings come from the tantric. The source of the teachings come from the tantric, but it is not specifically tantric practice itself. That meditation on dissolution. So I don't think there will be any problem to anyone to do that meditations. Because of course you cannot visualize without initiation, certain deity yourself and certain practice, but But this practice of dissolution, even though definitely the source comes from tantric teachings and practice, but I think definitely people can practice that. I don't think there is any problem with that. Okay, so we do the dedications. So again, due to all the virtues that we have created in the past, present, future, so we dedicate for all sentient beings. And as we recite the Shanti Deva's dedication prayer, we try to feel the meaning of them each as much as possible by keeping all sentient beings who have passed away, for them to have a better and higher rebirth. For all sentient beings who are having an obstacle, for those obstacles clear. For all sentient beings who are having a physical and emotional, mental health issues, for them to cure and heal quickly. And, may all the pandemic, all the natural disasters, and as well as, all the unknown, and we all be pacified as soon as possible. So while keeping that, then we do that. May all beings everywhere plagued by the suffering of body and mind obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtues of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or evil fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depressions. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored, finding repose. May the naked find clothing, hungry find food. May the thirsty find water and delicious drink. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicine be effective and wholesome prayer bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be free from their ailments. Whatever disease they are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightening cease to be afraid, those bound be free. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for joining this morning.